Hello everyone, this is Crystal and welcome to my channel where I share card making techniques, sweet paper crafts, and now inspiring food ideas. And today I'll be sharing with you how I made this cute little shaker coin envelope. This project used many of the items from the E-Club kit. We used the cardstock here and the bird die and the cardstock from that. And also the stamp set here, so Sending Smiles. It used the May made its stamp set that came with it, which is called Hello Lovely. And this can be used as just to send a gift to somebody in place of a card, or you can put a tag down in here and you could put like money. You could put another little pocket and put some money or a gift card on this and give it to them, or you can even just glue around the three sides and glue it to the inside of a journal and have an extra little pocket with a little fun element to it. So let me show you how I made this. For this project, we're starting off with a piece of paper that is 5.5 by 5. And on the 5.5 inch side, we're going to score at 1.5 and at 4 inches. And then we're going to turn on the 5 inch side and we're going to score at 1/2 inch and 4 inches. And as you can see, you can kind of see it better on the other side. And now I'm taking my bone folder and I am folding on all the score lines and giving it a nice crisp fold for this, as it needs to really be able to fold pretty flat for this. And then I'm going to open this up and we're going to cut on the bottom flap. And as you see, there's two little rectangles on either side. And we're going to cut them away. And we're going to make a little diagonal slit there, just so it will take out some of the bulk, because that'll be the bottom of our envelope. And the top up there is going to be our little flap. And for this one, we want to cut it straight. We don't want a little angle. So we're going to cut away the score lines completely on both sides here. And then I'm going to take my corner rounder and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to round the corners on that flap. And so that's how our little coin envelope goes together. Now to make our shaker, we have to have an opening. So I'm going to use this die and I'm going to stick it in the center. And it all depends on what type of machine you have. If you have a big shot, you want to put it so the metal cuts down. And I had actually used a Gemini, which is an electric one, and it cuts upward the other direction. So it just depends. Follow the instructions on your machine as to how you sandwich it together. And so here's my envelope with the center cut out. And save the piece that you cut out, because you can always use it for an embellishment later, or you never know. I was thinking of using this gold sparkly tool, but instead I decided to go with the pink tool instead. And what you'll need is you'll need 2 pieces of tulle, and you'll need it that are large enough to go over the opening. In fact, you want it a lot larger, because tulle can be a little hard sometimes to work with and it slides around, and so it's best to have more than enough. And I just doubled this over and made it almost as big as a whole envelope, and then I cut it in half for 2 pieces. And I'll lay it down first, and then I'll lay my envelope on top of this. Now, this method requires sewing, I think it has a really neat result. You could also use window panes instead and use like your sheet protectors using two pieces, and you could glue them together and glue them on the back. But I kind of like this look of the tool, and so I decided to go with that. I'm going to be bringing out my little tiny machine. I mean, it's very, very tiny. I bought it on Amazon. It cost me $20. I have lots of machines because I did a lot of sewing and I have a lot of expensive machines, but I don't want to use them because if I decide to sew glitter or something, I don't want it down in my good machine and ruining it. So when I seen this on Amazon, I grabbed it. It's super easy. This thing's so tiny. It's only 7 inches long. I mean, it is so, so small. And it'd be great to take, if you travel or whatever. But it also is battery powered. It also has a foot pedal, or you can use your hand to pedal to power it instead. It all just depends what you want to do. Now I'll have to admit, when this machine came, it came in from Amazon and it was in a box. My husband was like, "What did you order?" I said, "I ordered a sewing machine." He said, "In this box?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Like, you need another sewing machine." I said, "Well, yeah, well, this one's to sew on paper." And he just kind of gave me a dirty look. And I said, "Well, go ahead and open it." So he opened one box. And inside the one box was a smaller box. Then he opened that box. And it was even a smaller box. And then when he opened that box, there was a whole bunch of styrofoam, and he pulled this thing out and he says, "Oh my gosh, this thing's so tiny. It's so cute. It's so little." But, he says this would be perfect to take with you traveling or whatever. But anyway, we're going to sew this, and we're going to sew it right from the side down across the bottom and up the other side and leave the top open. So I'm trying to show you there where I'm starting on this because it's kind of hard to see. And I've got the foot pedal hooked up because I like to be able to use both hands because I'm just used to sewing this way. So anyway, I have more control using both hands to manipulate the paper or fabric. So when you get down to the one side, you leave the needle down in the paper and you lift up the foot pedal. As you see, there's a lever on the back. You lift it up and then you turn. It makes a nice crisp corner, plus it keeps your items from going to fall out. And you do the same thing when you get across the bottom. You do the same thing. You go around 3 sides. And then when you get done, this thing I had to kind of shake it back and forth to get the strings to come out longer. And you want to leave long strings because this thing doesn't have reverse. And now I'm going to cut back part of the tool. I'll cut away the excess on the edges here. And now make sure that they're out of my fold lines so it doesn't create bulk in my envelope when I get done with it. And I don't want to cut the top part yet because the top part is where I have to fill it. And then after I fill it, I've got to sew it. So I don't want to cut that part yet. And for this technique, you're going to want to use chunky glitter because you don't want it to fall out. And you want to use sequins and basically just bigger stuff to go in there. Not real bulky stuff, but just larger stuff so it doesn't fall out between the holes of the tool. And so I'm just gonna, normally I would have like a plastic spoon and fill this with, but I don't. And so I'm gonna put my finger down in between the 2 layers of tulle, and I'm going to put in some of this clear chunky glitter that I have, which is kind of hard getting in there because of the static electricity between the tulle and my fingers. It was causing the glitter to stick to me. And then I'm going to pour in some blue, I guess it's more like an aqua color sequins, and put them in it also. And then I have some pink little hearts confetti stuff that I'm going to put in there. And then I have a kind of a rainbow collection of blues and peaches, and looks like a dark blue too, and I'm going to add them in there also. And now that our pocket is full, it's time to sew the top of it shut. So I'll bring out my teeny tiny little machine again. And this time we're just going to sew across the top from where I'd stitched, where I ended. And I will put the needle right in the same hole where I started, because we want it all to connect, because we don't want any gaps for our sequence to fall out. And actually I'll start it a couple stitches before and go over it to kind of knot it. Then I'll turn it, I'll sew across the top of it, stop, turn it again, and sew down a couple more stitches. Then I'll take it out, and now I'll cut back all the strings off of it and just kind of clean it up and clean up the top of the tool, cut the excess away. Here I'm taking my art glitter glue and I'm gluing the back shut, and then I'll shake some of the glitter out of the way so I can get the glue to stick really well so it isn't lumpy. And now I'm gluing the bottom flap, and then I'll take my bone folder and I'll press it down to make sure that the glue and the papers get a really good contact so they'll stay together. That's how you make a shaker envelope using tulle. But now let's go on to embellish it. And here I'm just taking some crepe paper streamers, and I've got it in pink. And you can buy this stuff, it's so cheap. And I cut off a piece probably about 18 inches long, and I'll fold it in half, and then I'll fold it in half again. And I'm going to make a rosette out of it, but I don't want a rosette that big because this is like 2 inches wide, and that would make a 4-inch wide rosette, and it'll be bigger than my pocket card. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it in half to make it not near as wide as it is. And so, like I said, I'll just cut it in half, and now I've got enough for 2. And for this process, all you need is a stapler, and what you do is you fold this and you pleat it. You fold it back on top of each other again and you pleat it, and you just keep turning it back and forth. Now most people do it this way with their fingers. I have problems with my hand because I broke my left hand like in 4 places in a car accident, so it's not that easy for me to use that way. So as you can see, it's flaring out, and it makes a cute little fan if you just want to go this far. But you just keep going around and around and keep repeating this process until you have a circle. See that? Make a nice little fan or even a flower. But I'll keep going around and going around. And the main trick to this is to make sure that you pinch it together and you fold it back on top of each other and hang on to it. Because if you let loose of it, it'll all come undone. And it's just practice. This stuff's so cheap, you can just practice, practice, practice. And you know, if it mess up, so what? Get another piece. And you want to go like about 3 pleats over because you want to overlap. And then as you see, I cut off the excess and I folded it under. You should use a small stapler, but all I have is this large one, and you just staple it together. Well, as you see, it didn't quite get on mine because it's too wide. So I'll put it back in there and I'll staple it again. Some people do this on a white piece of cardstock, and then they will use a hot glue gun as they go around. I tried that and I just kept burning my fingers. This seems to me the easiest way to do it. And now I decided to make a ruffle, a double ruffle, using crepe paper, and I brought out my sewing machine, my little bitty machine again, and I'm going to take a piece of blue crepe paper streamer, and then I had that pink piece that I had cut off and I had left, and I'll lay that pink one on top of that blue, and then I'll sew right down the middle and sew the two together. And I'll make sure I have a long string at the beginning to start off with, and I'll just just sew it down there. And when I get to the end, I'm going to cut some of this away. Right now, I'm just cutting back the pink. I'm running the scissors between the pink and the blue because I want it to be smaller because my project is small. And I want this little pink ruffle in the center to be narrower. And then I'll cut the blue back so it's just a little bit wider. And I'll do this on both sides of the crepe paper. And now that it's finished, I will take one of the strings from the top of it and I will pull it to make it a ruffle because I want all this to ruffle and make a nice neat ruffle on this. I'll pull one string. As you see, it starts ruffling. And to make it a more 3D too, I'm also going to take the pink and I'm going to pull down the edges of it and kind of scrunch it up in the middle so it is a flat, such a flat looking ruffle on here. As you can see, I was measuring to see how much I was going to need because I'm going to glue it on the bottom of my envelope. And I'm just going to keep scrunching up that pink and making it 3D. And when I get done with this, I'm going to put some hot glue across the bottom of the envelope and then stick this down and press it really good into the hot glue and then cut off the excess. I'm looking at the video, I actually glued a little bit to the back and then cut off the excess to it. So I decided that I needed a sentiment, so I pulled out the May Made It stamp set that came with this month, and I'm using the stamp that says Sending Smiles. And I'm going to stamp it on a piece of black cardstock with my Versamark ink, and then I'm going to go over it with a white embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat emboss to set it in. And now I'm taking a scrap piece of the blue cardstock that came with the kit, and I'm going to use my bird die, and I'm going to cut the bird die out of the blue. And so I decided that the blue bird needed a little bit more pizzazz, so I decided to take some Ranger embossing powder I have. I have the holographic embossing powder. And I'm going to take my Versamark ink and just stamp all over one side, and then I'm going to use my holographic embossing powder over it and then heat set it. I don't know if you've ever used this embossing powder, but it really gives stuff extra pizzazz and it just takes it over the top, and I just think it made this bird, it made it beautiful. And I'm just cutting around my sentiment, just around it, no specific shape or anything to put on my envelope front. And I've got this bead trim here on the right side that was left over from last month's kit. And I decided I was going to cut it down and glue it on that one side. And I decided to take my crepe paper rosette and I'm going to put my bird on top of that. Now right now I don't have anything glued down. I just have things sitting because I'm trying to figure out like whether I want a gold bow or I want a pink bow. I think I ended up staying with the gold bow. But in the meantime, I have all these little scrap rectangle shapes, these little strips. And I have more than enough for that and for the other card that uses them for that little girl's umbrella. And so I took some other papers and I cut some more strips of different sizes and different lengths. And what I'm going to do is I am going to fishtail them or flag them, I guess, and just cut off the little ends, make them little flags or fishtail, whatever you call them. And then I'm going to arrange them together and put underneath my crepe paper rosette. And this is something that I do quite often when I make embellishments to use up the excess paper, and it gives it another element. You can use lace, you can use metallic papers, vellum, just a variety of different widths and lengths, and it just makes it an unusual combination. And when I get done arranging it how I want, then I'm just going to put some hot glue on it and glue it, my rosette to it, and press it down really good. Make sure all the banners are glued together. Sorry, I'm out of frame shot, and I also cut off the excess. I took a piece of dotted lace and I cut a piece off and I glued it in the center of the rosette, and then I'm adding the bird to the center. And this, I used my art glitter glue because I didn't want the hot glue to show up. And yes, you can see the art glitter glue, but it'll dry clear so you won't even notice it. And I see that I'm out of frame shot, but anyway, I'm taking my hot glue gun and I am gluing down that beaded trim on the right hand side and gluing down my rosette and just putting everything together how I had it arranged. And now I'm taking some butterflies I made out of gold metallic cardstock that I had used the die that I had gotten in last month's kit. And I made 3 little butterflies, and I kind of bent them up so they wouldn't be flat, so their wings would be kind of up. And I used some art glitter glue, and I glued 3 of them down on that left side there. So now I'm going to use my hot glue gun, and I'm going to glue that rosette down on top of the envelope flap there. And if you make this project or any project using the items out of the e-club kits, we would like to see them. Please share your creation on e-club kit members kit on Facebook. If you like what you see, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel and ring that little bell so you will be notified every time I upload a new video. Bye for now. Happy crafting!